opportunity came to get away for a long weekend, I jumped at it, and on a whim, as I packed, I threw in this album in the envelope of photographs. As the plane took off, I started loading the stack of pictures into the album and contemplated why I just couldn't find time for these little chores at home. Does life really need to be so busy? I wondered amid the roar of the plane's engine. As soon as I had a place of my own, my sentimental mother had begun filling my house with carloads of treasures from all aspects of my heritage, including boxes filled with a lifetime of loose photographs. Brazenly bounding across the backs of the photos that marked the first months of my life was the stamp of a fox. The same fox that haunted my dreams in the years following our escape. It was just his outline printed in red ink, but the likeness was unmistakable. He lunged through the air with paws outstretched, ears back, tail extended behind him. Beneath him in block letters were the words, "Fox Photo." The pictures I had with me on the plane were more recent. They hadn't been developed at Fox Photo. I knew there would be no predator on their backs, and yet, without giving it a thought, I checked anyway. It was an unconscious habit born of a lifetime of hypervigilance. It is no coincidence this was the image my mind captured in childhood as a symbol of my father. He was, after all, the photographer of the family, and I was his favorite subject. My life very easily could have turned out differently. I wonder who I would have become if things had gone according to my father's plan. I was lost in my memories when the glamorous woman seated beside me began to chat. I had noticed her immediately as she boarded the plane. She had a striking presence, dressed all in black except for her leopard print stilettos. She carried an oversized satchel and a trendy straw hat. Her short blonde hair was held back with a pair of giant designer sunglasses. As often happens with me, the conversation quickly turned to literature, and before long, I was scribbling her reading recommendations into the margin of the book of New York Times crossword puzzles I had brought with me for the trip. The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society, The Help, the #1 ladies' detective agency. It didn't take me long to give up on finishing my album. I slipped the rest of the photos back into the envelope and tucked them inside the back cover. Complete strangers have a habit of pouring their hearts out to me. It's been part of who I am, at least as far back as 2nd grade. My classmates would wait in line for their turn to swing beside me and, as we say in the mental health world, process their feelings. If I didn't know better, I'd think there was a thought bubble floating above my head that read, "Psychiatric help, 5 cents," or a placard hanging from my neck that proclaimed, "The doctor is in the style of Lucy in the Peanuts cartoon. My seatmate and I talked nonstop for the rest of the flight, and by the time we landed, we had covered the Glass Castle, Water for Elephants, and the Secret Life of Bees like long-lost friends. "So how long's your layover?" she asked as we waited our turn to join the stampede toward the exit. "About 2 hours. Then you have time for lunch." It wasn't a question. I protested, but she was insistent. We made our way to a restaurant where our conversation continued over wine and seafood. One topic led to the next, and soon this beautiful woman found herself telling me about a heart-rending experience from her past. For years she had carried the emotional burden of her experience in silence, not sharing her pain with even her closest friends. As her eyes filled with tears, I couldn't help but think of the tattered black picture frame that sat on the corner of my desk at work. On a sheet of ivory linen stationery, I had printed the words of the Weaver's poem. They were inscribed exactly as my friend Hannah taught them to me on the day of our high school graduation. I had been 18 then, and it had been one of the saddest days of my life. These certainly were dark threads that my new friend described, and like all threads, I was convinced there was a blessing in them somewhere, whether we could see it or not. "I can't believe I'm telling you these things," she sniffled. "I feel like I've known you for years, and I just realized I don't even know your name." "My name is Mahtob," I said with a smile, reaching across the table to shake her hand with feigned formality. "Mahtob, what a beautiful name. What's its origin?" "It's Persian." "Persian? Like Iranian?" "Mm-hmm," I answered, sipping my Riesling. "My dad was from Iran." "I read an interesting book several years ago," she began.